Please put your hands together and give a warm welcome to your host, Gale Newbold.
Thank you. So I'm Gale Newbold, and I teach with the undergraduate business schools program, specifically music business. So I'm really glad to be here today to host this particular panel, Military to College. I'm a veteran as well. I spent 11 years with the U.S. Army, specifically in the logistics management. I was with the 4th ID Forward and also the 8th Infantry Division, mostly in Europe. So let me introduce you to our panel. This is very, very exciting. We have Joshua Foster, who is a 2015 grad from Full Sail, and he's also an engineer, and he works with Patchwork Recording out of Atlanta. Give him a warm welcome, please. Then we have Josh Gudwin, who is a producer, engineer, and manager of the 2016 Grammy winner Justin Bieber for the Best Dance Recording, Where Are You Now, with Skrillex and Diplo. Give him a great warm welcome. And then we have Bob Truett, who is a Full Sail University Program Director for Digital Cinematography. Another warm welcome. So what I thought we would do to start off is to talk a little bit about your background with the military for each of our panelists. We're interested specifically kind of in what branch you served, what specialty, the years that you were in, maybe some of the units that you served with as well, whatever you think would be interesting. So who wants to begin?
I guess I'll start it off.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joshua. I served in the Army. I did 9 years, 6 months, 25 days.
Not that he's counting.
I did count, yes. Joined in 2002 in June, and I got out in January 2012. My first duty station was in Fort Hood, Texas. I served with the 3-6 Cav. They're discontinued now, and that unit actually deployed as a unit to Korea, where I served at Camp Humphreys. Then, of course, because once you're at Fort Hood, you stay at Fort Hood, so I went back to Fort Hood, and I was with the 62nd Quartermaster, and that was my first deployment to Iraq. And I came back, stayed with 62nd for a little while, then I went to Hawaii. Got the dream job, the dream sham job. I'm sorry, 311, I'm calling you out, but I was with 311 Sentinel Command at Fort Shafter, and I finished my career out there. Served as shop foreman. I was a 91 Bravo or a 63 Bravo, depending on when you came in, how you want to word it. Shop foreman, motor sergeant, and also platoon sergeant before I got out.
Hello, Josh Gudwin. I was in the Marines from 01 to 05, 0311. Was with 3-3, did a deployment with 3-3 on the Pacific. Just, a bunch of stuff in the Philippines and stuff like that. And then went to 3rd Recon Battalion, and from there went to Afghanistan for 7 months, and then back to Hawaii, and then out. So, it's in a nutshell. We could talk about it more later, but.
All right. Let's see. Went in 1980 into the Navy, and went straight into basic electronics, and then advanced electronics, and then actually got out of that, and I was going to be a chaplain's assistant, so I went into religious program specialist, so I went to Keesler Air Force Base, and luckily enough, I guess, I was selected to go through Marine School, so I was in 0311 as well, so I left there, and I was sent off to Okinawa.
Me too.
So I was in Okinawa for about a year and a half. And I forgot one, when I was in advanced electronics, I was up in Chicago area. So spent, like I said, a year and a half over at 1st Marine Air Wing in Okinawa. So I was at headquarters. So for a person like me, headquarters, I gave them their run for their money. So I was a little bit of a rebel at the time.
So I know when I went in the military, it was really bad. I just wanted a job. When I got out of college, I wanted to make sure I had one. What motivated you all to go into the military?
For me, it's probably 3 parts. All the men, from my great-grandfather to my brother, older brother, served in the Army. So it was kind of a foregone conclusion that I was going to go in. But then my 11th grade year in high school, 9/11 happened. And during that time, I really couldn't grasp what was going on at the time. I remember a recruiter coming to the school the same day, and on a white sheet of paper, he said, write down your full name and your homeroom, and I'll get back to you if you want to serve. And he gathered us all up. We took a practice ASVAB in the lunchroom. After that, they gave us a day off, which was pretty cool. And the rest is history. So it was me wanting to serve just because, you know, the men in my family serve. Also the call of duty, of course. And actually coming to Full Sail. I knew I needed money for that college education. It wasn't Full Sail University yet. I don't want to tell my age, but I still needed the money to pay for it. So
Full Sail real world education?
it was that, yes, ma'am. And yeah, that's the reason why I serve, those three parts. So.
Thank you.
Going down the line.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I attempted the whole college thing when I was, 18, 19, or 17, 18, whatever it was. Wasn't really doing it too well. So I was like, I need a challenge. My family's not big on the military. My grandpa was in World War II and, that kind of thing. But mainly I just needed like a life challenge. And I thought at the time, I was like, if I go through the Marines, I'll be good. So when I went in infantry school, the Twin Towers got hit there, and that's the first time I really realized what I was getting into. I didn't even know exactly what it meant to even be a Marine and serve in the military until I saw my instructors freaking out about that kind of thing. So I don't know. That's why I joined.
Well, let's see. For me, my best friend had joined the Navy, and we talked about it, and I wanted to go into college, so I also wanted to see the world. So took off, went in, and good experience on a lot of different things, education. So got to see Japan for a while, and got out and went straight into college.
I totally agree. I wanted to go to Europe so bad, and that was one of the reasons I wanted to go. In fact, I traded an assignment for a guy who wanted to be in. I was on an assignment for New Jersey right out of college, and he was going to Germany, and we traded. And he was from that area, so I lucked out, because who else would want to go to New Jersey? I'm not sure how that was. So tell us a little bit about why you think a veteran student may be different from your regular college students.
I thought about this question, and it all boils down to self-discipline. We have a certain type of drive that's the military instills it into you, but I think you come into the military with a certain type of drive, a certain type of self-confidence, a certain type of self-awareness. And being at Full Sail, the hours are crazy. You're here from 12 a.m. to probably 12 a.m. It can get rough. But for us, that's just staff duty. We know we're sleeping the next day, so it's not that bad. But now for other students, it could be a little rough. So our way of thinking is different. Our way of embracing responsibility is different. So that's my.
Right. Well, it also developed a very good work ethic, and which is hard to instill in some people, especially when they're coming straight out of high school, if they haven't worked before. So someone that has gone through the military has developed that work ethic, that discipline, and that drive, like you were saying. So it really helps motivate them towards it. And I remember when I had gone straight into college afterwards, you didn't see that in a lot of people. They were going to class, boom, they're off partying, and working a couple different jobs, put myself through. I didn't have the GI Bill back then. So they didn't start that until a little bit later. But you're working, and you're just noticing people blowing off classes and things like that, and just going out and having a good time for the first couple of years. And that drive and that ambition and that work ethic really keeps you going.
See, that person he described was me after high school and going into college. So I always did have a strong work ethic. Been working since I was like 16. My dad was very adamant about me getting a job and contributing to the family and stuff like that. So, the Marines just solidified my work ethic. I mean, it put me in a mental position to just deal with a bunch of nasty stuff. And, after dealing with all that stuff, this is just not even a challenge. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the easy day. So I don't know. The military instills a whole bunch of things. I wrote down a like 4-page paper. I just left it in another room. So I was going to talk about a bunch of cool stuff.
Well, it's also like taking tests. When I first went in, I was going through basic electronics and then into advanced electronics. So basic electronics were pretty much self-paced. Everything that you took test-wise, you had to get 100%. If you got a 99, you failed. You had one other chance to take it. And it wasn't like you could just study. These are practical tests too. So you took the written test, then they would say, okay, here's a card. You tell me what's wrong with it. Got one chance. So you had to, take out your multimeter, check it and everything, and boom, because that's what matters. You can't just say, oh, let me figure this out. Oh, it's not trial and error. When you're dealing with some kind of situation, if you're on a ship, you're in a combat situation, something like that, you don't have time to sit there and play around. Let me try this. You have to know that, get it done, and move forward. And that's part of what that training is getting that done. And you don't have that luxury of going over and over and over and over and over in some situations.
Yep, that's that go or no go,
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
So you all found that a lot of the skills that you learned in the military really helped you a lot when you got into the college setting and then later on in your careers then?
Absolutely. Like even when it came down to just you as a person, like the Army values and, just being a person of high character. That's the best way to put it. Because even when I went to school here, I was kind of looked at as weird in class because I didn't want to party much. I just wanted to come to class, learn what I needed to know, and go home and do any open labs if I can get to it. But it's just a different mentality. Because even in the military, when I was in Korea, that was my college years actually, because we party. We'll drink to 5 and
That's
we'll do
nice in Korea too.
Oh yeah, do a 6-mile run at 6:30. So we know how to do it, but it's separating have fun, but also be serious with your work. That's what the military.
So I've noticed, being an instructor, that our military folks are generally a little bit older and also a little bit more experienced when it comes to kind of life experience. Did that serve you all well, or what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, we all, I don't know exactly what you guys do in the military, but I really learned a lot about myself. I was, in a lot of positions where it was just me and my own mind, and, we're up for a very long time, and you just get to know yourself very well. You know your limitations, once you hit that peak, and once you hit that peak, if the first time you surpass it, and then your threshold level gets higher and higher. So for me, just the inner core of my person, the military just locked me right in there.
Oh yeah.
It also builds that confidence too, because you're being pushed a lot. And if you can get through those, you know that you can push yourself for something bigger and better as you go through. So it's adapting to each situation, and it also helped in that as well.
So how did you all deal with the younger students, the ones that have not had these kind of experiences? I mean, when you think about it, most people in America have not had the experiences that veterans have had, and then the student population may be younger than you. How did you guys deal with that?
That's very true. It was very difficult. When I was 20, I don't know why my first sergeant did it, but we were at Ramadi, and we needed a motor sergeant for the area. So as an E4, I was the motor sergeant for a 62nd Quartermaster in Ramadi. And at 20, I was sitting in meetings with battalion commanders and sergeant majors, and I had to lay out the NMC report, let them know what was up, let them know what was down. And this was forced upon me at 20. Nothing against Full Sail students, but unless you had that kind of experience, I don't see a lot of people at 20 having to, that type of responsibility. So it's just, like he was saying, the military thrusts responsibility on you, whether you're ready or not. One of my chiefs, my first chief at 36 Cav, he said something I'll never forget. He told me, in the military, you either move up or you move out.
Yep.
There's no time for in between. Let me feel it, let me learn it. You either know it or you don't. And you will get surpassed, and they have a way of weeding you out in the military. So the aspect of what you're saying is responsibility. It's all about responsibility. At 20, I was doing totally different things than what 20-year-olds here are doing. So,
I don't know about you guys, but when I first started college, you could pretty much pick out another military person that was in college. When I was in, you're 18 years old, 19, 20, everyone looked like an adult. Everyone acted like an adult. When you got into college, those that just went straight in, you could just tell the difference, and if you ran across someone, you could just pretty much say, hey, what branch do you serve in? Boom, they're like, oh, Army, Navy, whatever. You could just automatically tell. Very rarely do they look at you and say, oh, I never served. Most of the time you can just pick each other out as you go because there's that demeanor and everything else. And, you just knew there was a camaraderie between you and that other person.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bob, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say normal folks don't talk about AK-47
Yeah.
and chest, knives on their chest rig and shit like that.
Very true.
Bob, you bring up a really, really good point, and that is when someone serves in the military, they are really part of an automatic social network. I mean, they were part of a brigade, a battalion, a company, a squad, a team, had a battle buddy. So they had this automatic social context. Then when they're discharged, it can be very, very lonely. And what can you guys say that helps people, that may have helped you with that?
That was the hardest part for me, was the transition, actually, from military life to civilian life. I didn't come to college until maybe 10 months after I got out. The hardest part for me was feeling that brotherhood, feeling that the person sitting next to me literally is willing to die for me. I didn't feel that outside of the military. So it kind of puts you in a position of where you, I don't want to say miss the military, but you just miss the brotherhood. You miss being able to sit down and talk to somebody, and it's all of you are my friends already just because you serve. I can go in any unit. It could be my first day there. I view everyone as a brother, sister, my first day. College is not like that. I come to class, I sit in class. If you speak to me, I'll say hello. If not, I'll go by my way. But it's just the way you approach people. It's the biggest difference to me. I don't know.
You want to hit this one, or you want me to do
No,
it?
go ahead.
So my transition was interesting because the skill set I learned in the Marines doesn't really translate to the civilian world too well. And when I got out of the Marines, my whole initial goal was to go back to college, do 4 years, and start doing like executive protection for, for senators and ambassadors and stuff like that. But my path switched to music, when I found out that I could do it as for a living instead of a hobby type of thing. So my biggest thing on transitioning was, dealing with like my PTSD, my anger, just like every other word was, curse word. Like it was just very hard for me to be socially acceptable in a lot of circles. But I had a girlfriend at the time, like my first girlfriend when I got out, she really, really helped me transition out. She's like, dude, you can't talk like that to people. I'm like, what do you mean? That's how I talk. So anyway, she helped me out, and it took like a year, and she eventually left me when I went to Full Sail, because this is another full-time job, you know what I'm saying? So, she was very instrumental in helping me transition. You got to find someone that you could relate to, that could help you,
Well, I definitely can relate to that. I remember after going through, a little bit with the military, and I was home on leave or something, and I had my best friend was there. He was still active duty as well, and I must have said the F-bomb about 20, 30 times in front of my mother, and I had never really swore before I went in. And I kind of like glancing over at her, she's got this look on her face, and my best friend pulls me over and says, you must have said like F about 20 some times, and your mother's like, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. You just don't realize it because everything was F this, F that, and all the time, because it's all you heard from everyone else. So a little bit of transition, but also I still get it nowadays. When I go into a restaurant or something like that, there's that awareness. And some people are like, well, are you ex-military? I said, why? I says, well, you never sit with your back to the door. You never that. And I said, well, I don't know, habit. Just I find a seat that I have a vantage point, and it's just that awareness that you have, and it's, I don't know, it gets built in after a while. So
Yeah, I got that too.
So there may be students, veterans who are really trying to work through psychological or actual or either psychological wounds or physical wounds. And that can get in the way of maybe asking for help, maybe in the classroom or such. What do you all have?
That was my problem. When I got back, I actually refused help when I got back from deployment. And I had one of my mentors sit me down and say, look, either you're gonna go get help or I'm gonna force you to get help. And it was the way that he said it. I knew it wasn't a threat. He just wanted me to get better. So for anybody out there, military, in this room, online, if you need help, go seek help. The VA has great programs. Orlando VA here helped me out a lot, psychologically, and even with deployment. When I was here at school, with the work study, I mean, it's only, I think, $8 an hour or something like that, but it's better than $0 an hour. And it's flexible, you can go on your own time, and they just helped me out. It was really instrumental in helping me get through the college life, was being able to talk to psychiatrists and being able to actually go to the VA and help other soldiers with situations that they were going through. So you have to seek help. It's no excuse not to. Even if you feel like you don't need to, maybe you should find your support system and kind of hint towards them so they can have an intervention for you or something. But whatever you need to do, go seek help. It's very important.
Definitely. I've had several friends that severe PTSD. Also, it's not just the service member either. It's also the families.
Absolutely.
Because the families don't realize what has been going on either. I remember when I first got into service, it was only a couple years after Vietnam. So, and back then, people really had a lack of respect for the military. And not as a whole, but there were a lot of groups that just like, why were you there? And they just, if you were military, they really didn't want to talk to you. And a lot of the friends of mine that are a little bit older, a couple years old, I was about 4 or 5 years older, they would sit around and talk about what they went through coming out of Nam and everything. And when I went into college, I remember this one girlfriend of mine, she wanted to go see the movie Platoon. And she goes, I need to see this movie. I said, why do you need to see this movie? She goes, well, my father was in Vietnam, and he has never said one word about what happened to him. And, you know, he sits alone, quiet, a lot and everything. So she wanted to go see it. And midway through the movie, she's just tears. She's just crying through the whole movie. And she goes, now I know what my father went through. I said, you know, and it is those family members, you know, too, they need to also talk to someone as well, because they don't know how to handle what is going on, what the experience was. You know, people that have gone through Desert Storm or, you know, anything else, they just don't know. They can say, okay, well, you were over there, you did this and you did that, and it was probably horrific, but they don't know exactly, you know, what had happened. And, you know, there's separation anxiety that happens, everything, you know, and they just don't know how to handle it, and that's what's caused some issues. People get divorced and they fight and things like that because they don't know what to do. And it's, you know, they also need to be able to find someone to talk to as well.
If I could add a caveat to that, I'm not sure if Military One Source is for active duty or veterans or for family members, but I know when I got back, one of the things that really helped me out was reaching out to Military One Source. Even if you're out now, do your research, but they give you 6 free sessions. So even if you're not inside of the veterans or the VA system, or you're not retired and you don't get benefits, call Military One Source. You can at least get 6 sessions with the psychiatrist to sit you down, and they can refer you to the VA. They can really help you out with that. So with the family help, the Military One Source, even if you're a family member, if you're a spouse, check out Military One Source, and you can also go get help.
Especially as you're waiting for that time
Absolutely.
period of being approved with the VA and everything. You all have just brought up so many great things, and one of the things I wanted to ask about your experience is, did you find that when you transitioned to college that there were particular instructors or people within your college system who were particularly helping you through this process?
This is going to sound cliche, and I know Full Sail brought me here, but legit, everyone from instructors to lab instructors to everyone, staff, front desk, everyone was very helpful. There was never a point where I had a question or I had a concern and it wasn't addressed at the lowest level. I can honestly say that about Full Sail. They're really helpful with, if someone doesn't have the answer, someone will find the answer for you. I can't say that.
Was there anything that you all felt that you needed as veterans? I mean, did you need recorded lectures? Did you need, something recorded because maybe you had an audio deficiency, a hearing difficulty after you came out of the military? Was there anything that you wished maybe you could have asked for that could have helped the transition to be a little bit better?
With Full Sail?
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of anything.
No?
I mean, if I did have a hearing, or any kind of issue, I would have asked. But
Okay.
at the time I was going, I didn't. Nobody really did.
So what did you all least expect when you came out and went into college? What kind of surprised you?
What surprised me, and maybe this is from my peers, and I apologize to anybody I offend, but some of the students just had a lack of understanding what education was. They came to Full Sail, and this is the impression they gave me, that Full Sail was supposed to find them a job, get them a job, keep their job.
The ultimate handout.
Right. And it baffled me. I never could understand that. College in general is about getting an education. The degree is about education. It's not about job placement. So I was just really, and I guess from a military background, if you want something, you got to work for it.
Right.
If you want that PT patch, you got to work for it. If you want that promotion, you got to go to the board. You got to work for it. So just that hand me or give me mentality.
Right, the entitlement, and which is I saw a lot of too.
Yeah,
No handouts, no entitlement. Everything you do, you got to do it yourself.
absolutely.
People can help you along the way, but at the end of the day, you got to be able to do everything yourself. I'm a super lone dude. Like, I'm always in my own thoughts. I deal with my stresses and everything internally. And when I did get out of the Marines, I was rebelling. I kind of rebelled against the Marines, and I kind of rebelled against help because I just felt that at the time I felt like I didn't need it, and I just kept pushing on. But over the years, you realize it's okay to have the help, and you start reconnecting with all my brothers. You start talking about all the stuff, these swirling up the pot. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if I veered off a little bit on that question, but
No, I can definitely relate to that, and I still do it kind of nowadays. It's you got used to counting on yourself or the person that was with you at that time while you were serving. And one thing is, both my best friends were military as well. So one of them was in the Army, the other one was in the Navy with me. So, and they're still my best friends, and they've been there for over 36 years. And those are the ones that I could always count on. Yeah. And you have friends that come and go, but you also have those that know what, you have that commonality with, you went through something together, and you have something that you share because you know that they went through the same thing that you did, and you had that common bond that you knew that if you asked them for something, that they'd be there to help you out. And that's not just a best friend, but it's also someone that was actually in the service too, that you knew. And it would be 2 o'clock in the morning, something like that. Hey, I need your help. Okay, where are you at? And you got up and left.
Absolutely. And just going off of what he said, yeah, the military does teach you that, suck it up and drive on, mentality. And that's probably the hardest thing you have to break, being able to say it's okay, especially when you get out. It's okay to drop that mentality. It's okay to say, hey, I need help. It's okay to say, I can't do this alone.
So my understanding, talking to students is that none of them want to be considered a wounded victim in any sort of way. They're proud veterans, the men and women who've served. So, it sounds like you really kind of support that a lot with what you say.
Well, the one thing too is that I've noticed with some students and some people is that you need to learn how to accept responsibility. And you did something, accept the responsibility instead of, hey, you need to change this. This is your fault. It's like, why is it my fault? You're the one that did it. So accept the responsibility and move forward. Learn to, accept that and change yourself instead of blaming it on someone else.
Absolutely. So I know one thing about the military is that they are really good at teaching people to be leaders, because you never know when you're the person that's got to take over in a split second. So tell us a little bit about what you learned about leadership and management in the military and how that helped you with your college experience and also with your career.
I used to tell my soldiers all the time, no matter what, NCOs or officers, you can either learn how to do it or you can learn how not to do it. But either way, you're learning. So always take that attitude and take that approach. And that's what I do even here at Full Sail. Even if guys was in the back talking, okay, I'll let them talk. I'll let the teacher handle that. But at the same time, it could be a student up front asking a very relevant question. So I had to learn to tune the back out and focus on the front. It's just a switch you got to be able to hit.
Management's instilled and enforced at an early age in the military. You know, at least in my squad, everybody we would teach each other what we learned from schools and teach each other techniques. You know, we call them hip pocket classes. I don't know what the Army calls them, but you know, it's like pop out a hip pocket class on something, and you know, we all educate and teach up each other. So it's a managerial role, and you know, if one of my guys gets hit, I gotta take over his job, and I gotta carry his load, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, I mean, management's instilled in all military people, like whether you know it or not. Like you guys got it, you know.
Absolutely.
Well, the biggest thing is treating each other with respect and letting them know that you have their back, and that will move you up. And I still do that today. You know, I mean, with my team, I trust my team. I know my team can do the job. I'm not going to sit there and micromanage them. And same thing when you're in the military. It's like, okay, here's your job. You go off and do it.
Yep.
And if you don't, then there's a problem. And you come back and say, what's the problem? You know, why didn't you do this? So you trust. There's that built-in trust. And my team here has excelled tremendously with that. It's, you know, giving them that and say, go off and do it, and we'll check back with you later and see how you did, and we'll take a look at your results.
Yeah, I think delegation is the biggest way to build a leader. Even when I had soldiers, sometimes I would give them some of my responsibilities just to see how they'll react to it. And delegation at E1s to E2s. When I was coming up, I was taught to, if they were higher than you, you parade west to them. If you were a PV1, they were a PV2, guess what? You parade west to that PV2. So, and that kind of builds that respect system to where you start to respect not only their job more, but also respect your job more. So when you move up, you look forward to mentoring other soldiers and teaching them how to have that same discipline and that same leadership quality.
And if you don't delegate, you're kind of communicating distrust at the same time.
You really
You're
are.
never good at
Yeah.
developing others, I think. So tell me this: the time commitment that you had to put into college, was that a surprise? What kind of time commitment was it, and did it meet your expectations?
Oh, that was easy. The time commitment. This is a piece of cake.
College is the easy days.
Yeah. With the military, I mean, you never know what's gonna happen. You could be, especially when you're deployed. There is no such thing as an off day. We used to make fun at people in garrison complaining, "Oh, we didn't get a 3-day today." Well, I didn't get a 3-day in the last 16 months. So, yeah, time off was it's in the back of your mind in the military. So here, when we had classes, it may have been 8 hours a day, maybe even 10 or 12, but it was never a problem.
So how did this compare to, was college challenging enough and rigorous enough for you when you made the transition?
Let me say this. I remember a lot of the shitty days in the military. I don't remember any bad days here at Folsom. Like, to me, it wasn't even a hard thing. Like, I don't know.
And I don't
I
think
don't
that's saying
care about
anything
that.
bad against, the system. It's just, we're cut from a different cloth when it comes to our serious situation is bullets flying. Full Sail serious situation is you have 11:59 to submit this assignment. So
You're talking about a 4-year, signed commitment. They own you pretty much
Yeah.
to enjoying college. So it's not really, this shouldn't be hard for.
No. And I enjoyed it so much because I was on campus from 7 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night. I got involved with everything and went to class. I was in student government. I was in a fraternity, just did everything because just wanted to enjoy the experience as I went through. So class was like a breeze pretty much. It was because you were regimented, that you knew what you needed to do, and then you had all that, you used your time wisely and you got what you needed to get done. And for me too, that time off, you spent more doing things that you liked instead of nowadays, I see a lot of people just blow off and like, okay, a 2-day weekend just went by and they just sat around. Back then, it was like you did everything you could because that was your free time, and you wanted
That was
to
before
enjoy
Netflix.
because you didn't have it all the time.
Let me speak something real quickly on time too. After I got out of the Marines, I felt like I wasn't angry. Like I just felt like I lost 4 years of my life, kind of, in a weird way. I don't know how to explain that, but I felt like I had a lot of catching up to do. So when I was in school, there was no way that I was not gonna nail this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had to catch up because everybody else had 4 years on me. I mean, our experiences are different, and I feel like I took, the real route and bypassed all the youngins in that way. But I just had the drive to just really charge hard and get this, this career. There was nobody gonna tell me that I can't do this. Like,
And one of the, oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to say definitely. The one thing too that I just thought about is it's being overseas for that period of time. You were kind of like in a time warp when you got back.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
things went on without you, and people are talking about things, and you're like, oh, what? I've never heard of this. What?
and then the barracks, and you were in Okinawa. I was like Camp Schwab, man, and like our barracks are from 19.
Oh.
Dude, we're like living like dinosaurs over there too. So
Okay, yeah, Okinawa, one little window, 2 bunks, tiny little room, no air conditioning, no heat, and no breeze, and the average temperature over there was 95 degrees all year round. So you slept on top of your bed. You never went under the sheets or under the blanket, and we had a little refrigerator that we rented because we had to keep, and all that was in there was a gallon jug of water, because my roommate and I would bump into each other about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning drinking water because you were sweating all night long on top of that. And that was for like a year and a half. So
that's like good stuff right there.
So one of the reasons I'd ask those questions is that both for online and for campus students, I often hear from veterans this sense of, do I have what it takes to make it in college? And I always like to say to them, oh, you have no idea what you have that takes that's going to help you get through college. You all want to say anything about that?
Yeah, it's don't even fret. College life it can be rigorous. It's challenging. I don't want to downplay it, but even if you've done basic training and that's all you did and you got out right after that, college will be a piece of cake. It would be.
So I'm going to get a little serious and deep here, if you guys don't mind for a moment. And I'm going to read this one because I want to make sure I get it right. I did a little bit of research with the National Education Association, and they said that. Oops, I'm sorry. That's the wrong question. We're going to skip that one.
I saw some of it. It was an inappropriate question. There was
Was it really? Yeah,
No,
it
it's
probably was. It probably was. Here, I'm
How
going to
many
find it
clubs?
because it's really, really good. So here it is. I found it. We're good. Okay, so there are 3 things that you should never say to a student veteran, but they still hear them every day. These wars are atrocities and a waste of human life. I don't get why you're having so much trouble. You volunteered, right? And worst of all, did you ever kill anyone? These comments wound the hearts of men and women who are already overburdened with sorrow. What are your thoughts about discussions about war in a classroom setting?
And that happens so much when I just speak to people in general. I don't know what the asphyxiation is about how many kills we got on our belt and what did we do and how did we do it and why are you serving, why did you serve, and you shouldn't make this much, blah, 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 and all. But the way I approach it is once someone says a statement of that nature, I already understand where their mind is going. So it takes everything within me not to speak out to them, but I just practice tact. I just sit back and I say, well, no, don't want to talk about that right now. Or, well, you know, I downplay it. Oh, I didn't do anything over there. I was just driving trucks. Or it's very uncomfortable, like you said, to bring up situations like that because you never know. In the military, we have to sometimes compromise our morals. And that's a hard thing to say, but it's the truth. And sometimes you're forced to do things you don't want to do. Sometimes you're forced to push people down, tell them to get out of their cars, displace them out their homes. And that's not anything you want to do. Nobody wants to do that. But we have a job to do. Not only are we protecting our country, the most important thing anybody in the military would tell you, you're protecting your left and your right. You're protecting the people around you. So asking questions like that, I don't know. It makes me feel bad.
Well, you also get a lot of the games that are out, a lot of the movies and TV shows where they glorify some of the stuff too, and that's what
true.
they talk about. So they just assume, well, that's why you went in. You went in to do that. It's like, no, there's a deeper, reason that I went in. Maybe it was because your sense of service, sense of protection for other people, things like that. I don't know really anybody that I served with that went in and says, I just want to go in and kill someone.
No, I've never met anyone.
I knew one or two of those guys, but they were assholes, Sorry, full sail left.
They can edit.
The first two questions about the war thing, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. So if someone doesn't like the war, listen, that's your opinion. I'm not going to fight with you about it. Have you killed somebody? People ask me that a couple times. It's like, if they're not on the same wavelength that I am and been through the same shit I have, then they're not going to even get a response from me. Like, I'll just veer off. I don't have time to be talking to people about that kind of stuff, especially when they don't even know what's up.
So one of the reasons I brought up that bit of research or that question was because I don't know if people know that. If people know that there's certain questions you probably shouldn't ask a veteran, whether it's another student or whether it's staff. And so I just thought it was probably very important research to bring out.
That's a very good question.
So another thing I want to ask you all is, did you all get involved with any kind of, I know at Full Sail it's tough, but did you get involved with any kind of activities in college or maybe extra projects in college that kind of helped you with that transition and getting through?
The social clubs here are amazing, actually. The first one I got into was the WWE initiative. And yeah, all right.
What is it?
The WWE initiative.
The wrestling thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, tell them about it.
Oh, yeah. They let us go out with the NXT talent to all the different cities in Florida, Lakeland. What's that weird one? You can help me out. It's the one no one ever wants to go to.
All over Florida.
Damn, she involved.
All the little
All
towns
those.
in Florida.
And it's really cool. You get to interact with the talent. You get to sell tickets. You get to market. You get to promote. So I'm introverted now by nature, unfortunately. So just getting out in front of those people and, meeting, it was people in different degree programs, and you had to have a certain criteria to even be in the student initiative. I believe it was a B+ or A and good attendance and all that other stuff. So the social programs are amazing, especially that WWE initiative plug.
I have a way to help out. Anybody do the audio? Your audio over there? Well, for me, I didn't do any of the social clubs. I don't do the whole social thing like that. I mean, I go out to bars and stuff like that socially. But for me, it was creating music, and just all my off time I would be in my apartment just creating music, mixing projects from friends, just trying to get as involved in like the career that I was trying to pursue and like build my chops up. So I did that to pass a lot of the time, and that helped me out what I'm doing today.
So did you all find that that being a veteran actually prepared you really well for the workforce? And if so, how?
But going back to the values, going back to being disciplined, going back to doing the right thing, and even when no one is looking. And the biggest thing about the workforce is the military teaches you hard work. It was a couple of months in Iraq, and 100 and whatever degree weather, we were filling sandbags, and we were putting them on top of connexes for absolutely no reason, because anyone who's seen a mortar attack on a Connex with sandbags on it, it has the exact same effect. But it was just keeping us busy and introducing us to hard work. And when you come out, everything else just seems so easy. I actually hated my motor sergeant at the time for doing that, but then I understood why he did that. Keep us out of trouble for one, have us working together, and it's something weird about, and this is another thing about leadership. A good leader always know how to bring his subordinates together, even if he has to take the blunt of the force. And that was one thing I learned from that motor sergeant. Everyone hated him, but we all loved him because he brought us all together closer. And I still have friends to this day. That was almost 13 years ago, and I still have friends to this day, and we have jokes and conversations about that till this day. And it's just that camaraderie thing, and I think just having that work ethic really helps you prepare for the workforce.
I'm trying to think about it. I mean, I don't know, when I got back, I went to Okinawa, and then I went to Hawaii. I think my transition class was like 2 days in the Marines.
Oh, yeah.
It was terrible, man. Like, I don't know, the Army's probably better. It was like...
No, it's not. No. We ate cap for like 4 days.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, it all goes back, like what we were saying, the work ethic and everything else. It teaches you, how to be responsible for yourself, when to show up, what to do, when to do it, plan out your schedule, things like that. So you're prepared for any situation. And going into college was, like I said, nothing. It was, okay, wow, I have a class at 8 o'clock. Wow, that's a breeze. I have one at 11 o'clock. Oh, sure. And I have this extra time? Wow, cool. I can go off and do something on this time of my own. I don't have to worry about this, because you didn't have duty time anymore. You didn't have to go out and do watches or anything else. It's like, okay, I have a whole weekend if I want to do something. I can study, I can go off and have fun, whatever.
So would you say that is the same as the military prepping you to be more professional for the workforce, or is there anything in addition that you want to say?
I'm saying the military didn't really prep me too well for the workforce.
Okay.
I had to pretty much just do it on my own, kind of, Okay. That's just my experience. We all probably have
Yeah,
different ones.
for me, as far as like, if you mean like actual, like this is how you write a resume and all that, they don't do, like he was saying, our ACAP is, when I got out, they cut it down to a week. The old timers used to take 8 months to ACAP for some reason, but when I got out, they truncated it down to a week. So as far as, and that's something that the military needs to get better on, with the actual preparation of getting jobs and how to interview, writing resumes. But as far as, the work ethic is, and that's one thing about, even at the studio that I work at, a lot of candidates come there and they want to flaunt their resumes, they want to show their Pro Tools certifications, and that's all fine and dandy, but how well do you mix? How well do you record? Are you a hard worker? Are you willing to go get this hamburger? Are you willing to go get this whatever else the client wants? And you have to be able to put in that work. For me, going on 20 McDonald's runs for whoever, that's easy work for me. Another person will look at it like, hey, that's beneath me. I can't do this. I'm not here for this. But I look at it a different way. And I think the military just gives you a different perspective on work. It's my best way to answer it.
Yeah. Having a good work ethic, having a good attitude, and being able to present yourself that way as a professional really will take you a long way.
And I totally get what Josh is saying as well, because there's certain things that I think I learned from the military, but there were also things that I learned not to do as a result of my experience in the military. So I totally get that. I think this is a good time for Q&A, for other folks to ask you all questions. They have been so kind at listening to all of ours. And the way this works is you'll raise your hand, and there's some good folks back there that are going to have a mic that's going to bring it to you, and feel free to, maybe there's some questions you had that we have just didn't cover. I'm trying to see you out there because it's really bright.
Yeah, it's really bright.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's very bright. So when you put your hand up, they're more likely to see you than I will. Any questions? I think I surprised them. There,
You know, what
trying to
kind
look
of
for
what
the-
kind of what
trying
kind
to
of
look-
knives I like to collect, what kind of guns do I have, like anything, you know? What's up?
Yeah. Oh, we
Oh,
have
yeah,
a
we are
question
live.
right
Sorry.
here. I think I surprised them. I'm sorry about that. And while we're doing that, there is a question I want to ask Josh. I think people probably would like to know this, given what you do. Is your college experience? How did that prep you to be so successful with your own work of producing and engineering?
For me, the beautiful thing about Full Sail and where I work at now, it couldn't have happened any more perfect than the way it happened. I work at Patchwork, and when I was looking at their equipment list before I started interning there, I started noticing, oh, SSL duality. Wow, we have that in the audio temple. Oh, CL1B. Well, I've worked on that before. All the patch bays, and it was almost like Full Sail.
But they had all the up-to-date equipment.
All the up-to-date.
Wow.
All the up-to-date. So my transition there was really smooth, probably a little too smooth, because it was unbelievable at first, but when I started actually working there, I started knowing the similarities. And even there was one problem. I don't know, can I tell a story real quick?
Oh, sure. We have time for
All
stories.
right. There was one situation where we were doing a live broadcast, and they needed to have a live feed to their online audience. And we couldn't get audio. They brought their own mixer, and we couldn't get audio out of the right side of their mixer. And the whole time, I'm just sitting back, as an intern should do, and I'm just observing. And I noticed the engineer that they brought, he didn't know how to fix the problem. So I remember back in class, they were teaching us about motes. Do we have any audio engineers in here? No?
We had one over there.
One? Okay. So the mote is pretty much is where you can send a copy of one signal to another signal. And one way I figured out to fix that, well, what if we just copy this one signal into this other signal, and we semi-curate our left-right, and then put that into the computer so the viewing audience can hear out the left and the right speaker. And it worked, and I learned motes and audio workstations. And if I didn't learn motes and audio workstations, that client would have left really unhappy, because no one else in the studio at that point in time knew how to do that workaround. So Full Sail prepared me tremendously for, especially where I'm at right now with the equipment they have.
Perfect.
Like also has I mean, like, you guys are getting all the little treats and gems, like, to work with. Like the biggest thing for me is being able to know what information to take in, know that you're actually getting knowledge from something or someone, and to, you know, absorb and, you know, utilize that knowledge that you learn. I mean, it's every day you're learning some kind of stuff, and the equipment or, you know, whatever you guys are working with here, that's the type of shit that's like in the real, you know, in the real workforce. So you could be blind to it and, you know, work on it every day and not really learn your piece, you know, not really learn all that stuff. But if you're taking it all in, you learn it all, like, you know, those are all little gems and trinkets for you.
Everything is important, yeah, because even in all your workstations, learning about the motes, it was just one of those moments where the instructor was like, oh yeah, let me show you how to do this. And if I zoned out at that point in time, I wouldn't have had that opportunity to show that I was effective and valuable to the studio. So he's absolutely right.
Yeah, ask a lot of questions, experiment. Don't be afraid to fail, because the only thing about failure is you're going to learn from your mistakes. And you may find out something like, wow, I didn't know, you know, you could do this, and you may surprise other people when you come up with a solution for a situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we had a question right over here. We're ready for you now.
My name's Jeff. I work in career development. So I actually had a resume question for you guys, just because of the fact that I actually tell a lot of my military students to kind of demilitarize their resume a little bit as far as the acronyms, what are you guys in charge for, and stuff like that. Now that you've gotten jobs out in the industry with studios and so forth, your resumes, did the studio managers look at that? Did they take note, you know, because you were military, not only they understand your background and maybe some of your job duties, that you would be more qualified to handle certain tasks? Or I guess bottom line I'm trying to figure out is how much military experience should we put on a resume?
That's a good question. My The first resume I wrote coming out of the military, it read just like a NCOER. It was horrible. No one understood anything that I showed it to I don't know how many people. So yes, it's very important to, I was about to say dumb down.
Dumb it down.
Demilitarized.
You got to dumb it down.
Yeah.
Demilitarize your resume. And you have to break it down into terms where people can understand. People don't understand that, I did PMCS on 148 pieces of equipment and made sure they was all FMC. People don't understand that. Maybe you can say, I inspected, government equipment and upkept. You just have to change it into a way to where they can say, oh, that's what he did. So absolutely important to.
Yeah, I don't know. Jeff, is that you? Yeah. When I think when I did my resume, I just listed, veterinary assistant, 96th and whatever, Marines 0105, and so on and so forth. Then I was trying to think of like actual skill sets that I got, that I took away from there, and it's kind of like, oh damn, and just trying to figure out ways to transition the military terms and the acronyms to the civilian terms. It was definitely a challenge, but the studio manager that I first started working for, he thought it was fun that I was a Marine. He just wanted to know about women overseas. that was like his thing, and that got him all excited. So
Go down to BC Street.
yeah, I had plenty of stories to tell him.
Sometimes it never changes. I wanted to also get in on that, if I may.
With the stories?
No.
Oh, I got plenty of them too.
Is that funny? I know I'm a little ashamed to say that when I first got out, I really struggled with that as well. And I actually went to a company that transitioned my language, my military, because I didn't know how to do it. Looking back on it now, and of course we have so much technology now, I totally get it, and I wish I had gotten with someone who'd been out for a while and knew how to transition and that language to where it was understood within the civilian sector. That would have helped quite a bit had I done that.
It takes a couple years, guys. It's not just like,
Yeah.
so you guys are on a very high speed moving vehicle and you jump off, you're gonna start rolling and tumbling, and you can't just get out and like it's all good. Like it takes years to transition. It's just what it is. It took me 10 years to even like be successful in my career. So I mean, it all just takes time, and you gotta keep constantly doing self work and help yourself and learn.
Well, you'd be surprised. There's a lot of people that will hire you because they know that you're a veteran and that what you've gone through training wise and everything else, and they may pick you over someone else too, because you went through specific trainings. And if you got it through if you went through like recording arts of film or whatever it is, that they know that you put more into it than a lot of other people, because you got through the other training, and this probably was just like, okay, just like anything else, I put my heart and soul into it, and I'm going to do a good job.
There was another question. You got it.
Hello. Oh, okay.
Hi.
So my question kind of requires a lot of explaining, but there is a little point to my story. Like, I'm from a military family too. Like, I don't think there were any men that hadn't served, and then it came to my generation. Everybody expected my brother to join, but he had no interest in joining, so I jumped up to take his place, and it started me on one of those downward spirals, because my dad believed that women had no place in the military, and when I was going through training, I heard it everywhere I went: women don't belong in the military, or somebody calling me a baby killer, or without even knowing what job I went in for. There was always something negative, and I handled things, I thought I handled things okay. Like I would, I'd still be nice about it, or I would avoid the question or the insult or whatever and just try to, smile and move on. And everybody always told me I handled it wrong, or that they would agree with them and say they were right, you have no business being in the military. But I also worked at the Women's Army Museum and learned just how much women have turned the tide in the wars and helped us win. And I just don't understand the negative mindset that people have who've never served. I was just wondering how you guys would have reacted in the same situation if I was wrong in trying to maintain my tact and not engaging their ignorance.
Look,
I can certainly answer.
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I know, like women in the military, they kind of get a bad rap, and I think it comes from a combat role, you know, like as a Marine, I feel if I was fighting along women, I would be more inclined to, you know, baby and prep.
Protect.
So my whole attitude towards women in the military is not a negative thing. With your tack thing, like I know dudes that'll cold clock you just for saying some stuff, and I know dudes that'll walk away. I know everybody deals with things differently. So for me, like, I would just tell you to have that thick skin and let it bounce off you. I mean, nobody knows exactly what you're going through, and if you're going through the things, if you're going through the things in your heart and it's the right thing and the right way for you to do it, then you didn't do anything wrong. I mean, there's tons of roles for people in the military. I don't understand the whole women in the military thing. I know you guys get, you know, judged upon for that, but I don't know.
And it never comes from people that served in the military.
Yeah.
It's always outside agitators. So none of your brothers
People are ignorant, though.
The
You know?
biggest thing is you know who you are, and you know the job that you were there to do, and just do the best you can do. And you're going to run into that in the professional world too. You still have where women don't make the exact same as men. Why is that? I mean, they're doing the same job. Why aren't they getting paid the same in some companies? So, unfortunately, you do run into the good old boy, group that has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, where it's like men work, women stay home, and that's not right. And there's still that mentality, though. It doesn't matter if you're in the military, though, or like I said, civilian job world. There's still going to be those people out there that's what they think. And if you know what you can do and you trust in yourself, then, I'm not saying show them up, but it's, just, be yourself, and don't, try not to let it bother you.
The thing with that too is, you could prove them. You don't even have to feel that fire with them. You just prove them by the work that you do, and the person that you are. I think that's the more important thing. I've never heard anybody call someone a baby killer. That's pretty crazy. I'd be like, what the?
Well, I wanted to weigh in on it as well. I came into the Army when women had just been integrated into the regular Army 2 years before. Had no idea what the heck I was getting myself into. I just thought I was going in the military. So I did face a lot of that and some pretty atrocious behaviors. But when I look back on it, the people that got me through were really good people who had my best interest at heart. I can remember sitting around, because when I went to the 4th ID Forward, I was one of 2 women assigned to a 4,000 men unit. And so I'd sit around with the guys, because that's who was my friends, was the guys at night who had my best interest at heart. And they really said all the things that needed to be said. I mean, they did tell me I was going to have to work, twice as hard as any as the guys. I mean, as unfair as that sounds, that was the reality, and it tends to be the reality a lot. But I think because they believed in me and they understood that I had been trained well and I had a great interest in increasing my skills in all the areas that I was responsible for, that this tight-knit group of about 5 guys who I'm just so indebted to, and others, both NCOs and officers who saw what was happening. They saw the treatment. They knew it was wrong, and they became my support systems. And that did allow me to let things bounce off of me, because usually those are the jerks. People who say the bad stuff, they're trying to create an us-them mentality, and they're trying to put you down because there's a possibility they may be afraid of you increasing in power and control, and they want to knock you off of that pedestal. And so those are the people that you want to ignore and be stronger than, and be able to go on and just be the best that you can be. I know that sounds like an Army slogan, and it is. But yeah, it is a real thing. I am honored to live in a time where they are opening up combat positions for women. And I know that there are guys that go, oh my God. And the research has shown us that men, when put in that situation, will tend to want to protect, but I have a feeling they're going to get over that. I mean, look at these incredible movies that we see out there that actually start to show men and women equally in situations where they're protecting and serving others. I really hope that, and I think that we're going to progress to a point where we can do that, but we just need more role models that show us how. So I hope that helps. Any other questions?
We have a couple of questions from online. Our
Yay,
students
online's
and
back there.
Some faculty members as well, and staff who are online. And you know, first of all, thank you all for your service. Everyone in here, we owe a great debt of gratitude to you as a country. So I just wanted to say that from my perspective.
And for you guys.
Y'all too.
Yeah, you guys.
And my husband was in the Army, so go Army. But from our online chat, a couple of questions. What was your biggest fear starting college, specifically here at Full Sail? And once you got here, did you find that was a real fear, or how did you overcome that if that fear was something that did turn out to be a real concern for you?
Well, Full Sail, when I first got here, they made my anxiety shoot through the roof. They were forcing me to network, as they call it, and to me that means talking to people. And I usually don't like to. I'm really awkward with the one-on-one talking to people thing, and now I'm better at it. But coming in, it was really a problem for me. But the peers that were around me, they made it easier for me. And unfortunately, towards the end of my program, I started getting more active with the WWE initiative and things of that nature. So the networking part, it can be tough, but I got through it.
Yeah.
And would you say that's helped you in reaching your career goals as far as overcoming that fear?
Absolutely, because now at the studio, it's all about networking. It's all about being a people person. It's all about when a client comes in, they want to feel like they're at home. So you have to be able to say, "Hey, how you doing?" and ask how they're feeling. You know, is there anything you want? So absolutely, being talking to people here at Full Sail and just having my friends kind of ease me into being a people person and more extroverted. It really helped me out. It did.
Yeah, I really didn't have any fear. I was kind of excited to go in, and the only thing was it was just a little awkward because I was older than everybody. When I was a freshman, I was several years older. Luckily, at that time, I looked the same age because I aged a lot slower back then. So everybody thought I was, about 18 years old, and I kept reminding them, like when I was in, I was a senior or whatever, I was like, no, I'm like 25. And like, like what? So, but, I was really excited to go. And just using the backgrounds that I had in the military just helped me throughout.
Yeah, I agree. I was pretty excited to go too. I don't know, like working in this kind of career, it's not really work, especially when you love it. So I was just excited to be able to try to do that as a career. So I'm not a social person either. Like, we stay in the studio all day with a very small group of people. I don't like having small talk with people just because it's small talk,
Yeah.
But that networking kind of is a little intimidating, but it's definitely necessary because some of these people are going to be doing some stuff, in the careers that you're going to be doing, and it's going to be nice to talk to them in the next 20 years of your career. So that is important, but there is also a very small group of like-minded individuals like yourselves that you can gravitate towards. I would just keep gravitating towards those people and rocking with them.
That's a really good point. I'm sorry, but choosing who's in your network, it's not all about just talking to people. Everything isn't good for you. So feeling that energy, getting around like-minded individuals is very important when it comes to networking.
Right, building a bond. Yeah. You can build friendships, but building a bond, those are the ones that are going to last for a long time.
I'm gonna say this too, because I spent some years in the bars just, messing around. You could network with the bar homies, but 10 years or 5 years, you'll still be with the bar homies. If you want to network with the people in your careers, in 5 or 10 years, you're going to be still with those people in your careers. And what I mean by that is you could spend time doing the wrong things with the wrong people for so long, and you look back and it's like, damn, I should have done that. Well, if you do it with the people in your career path, you're still going to be doing it with the people in your career path in the future. So that's something to keep in mind. I only say that because, I just spent some time going out and having fun and stuff like that.
That's great advice. I think that's great advice. Also, Judson over in military admissions wanted to remind everybody that there is a flag with all the branches of service for students to sign. So if you guys, I don't know if that was available when you were here last time, especially for our two panelists, but he would love for you to come over and sign that if you get a chance while you're here. And
Where is it?
Obviously, it's over in military admissions. So I'll find out the details on that and let you know.
Okay.
But
We'll go after this.
so anybody who served, head over there and sign that. It'd be great for
So everybody can sign that? So
everybody who served. Absolutely.
Okay.
So anybody who served, we'd love to have you do that.
fabulous.
Nice.
Other questions?
I'm going to ask a question.
Yay.
So my day job is to be an instructor, and I work with students at the very, very end of the program. So I was curious if you guys had any thoughts about how I can best help my students transition from now college life into career life, particularly for my military students.
Preparation, knowing exactly what you want to do and having a direct goal to having a direct plan to reach those goals. Leslie Brathwaite, who's I'm proud to call a mentor, he was just talking about that a few hours ago. You can't just say, oh, I want to do this, or oh, I want to do that. It has to be specific. It has to be, I want to go here, I'm going to do it this day, and I'm going to give myself this much time to prepare for it. So preparation is absolutely key. I wouldn't have got the spot at Patchwork if I wasn't prepared for it. And success is basically preparation meeting opportunity, so definitely have to be prepared.
That helps. I just wanted to compliment you on your microphones. All three of them.
Well, thank you.
Nice. Yeah.
Focus and preparation, yeah. Because, like, if you look at all the job opportunities in all of our different career paths, there's so many different routes you could take, and sometimes they could be daunting, and you could lose focus on that.
Mm-hmm.
Me personally, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I kind of fell into my career path organically and naturally. I knew I wanted to do music. I knew I wanted to be in the studio, and I knew I wanted to do that for a living. So yeah, that focus and that preparation helps. It helps to know what you want to do.
Yeah.
You know,
I'd say support and mentoring.
mentoring's huge.
Yeah.
So to go along with what you just said, to kind of add a second layer to that, I see often that because I'm literally the very, very last class, it's a very high stress situation for my students, regardless military or not. They're moving, they're trying to figure out jobs, life, families coming, they're ordering things. So it's a very tense time for them. And you mentioned mentoring and coaching. What does that look like for the military student? Is that different than the average student? What are some things that you could recommend that any of us as instructors could do to help out in that case?
I want to, when it comes to military students and, civilians, I just call them civilians, it's not like we're, two different breeds of people. We have the same fears, we have the same concerns. It's just we're able to absorb better, I think. So if you want to help out, since this is a military audience, if you want to help out the veterans, just let them know their resources. A lot of veterans do not know all the resources they have available to them. There's some veterans that go to school not even using their GI Bill, not even knowing they're eligible for their GI Bill. Some veterans buying homes that doesn't have their VA certificate, if you want to go that VA home loan route. So just giving them information and letting them know their resources, even from a teaching standpoint, can help.
Great, thank you. Do we have any other questions in here?
I just wanted to say that Judson is actually bringing the flags over, so if you want to hang out, I
Cool.
figured that would probably
Nice.
be easier than everybody trying to find where they were. So he's bringing them over, so just let you know.
Sweet.
Okay,
Ooh,
with that,
question from our esteemed panel back here.
fabulous.
Hi, my name is Liz. I'm actually in the film program, and I had a question for life after Full Sail for you guys. In terms of dealing with anxiety or any other new stress when you move up the ladder within the entertainment industry, how do you guys kind of prepare for prepared for a elevation in your career? Because with every new job comes new responsibilities. So I was just curious on how you guys deal with it.
You say you're in film?
Yes.
Okay. For me, well, I don't want to say unfortunately, but in the studio life, you usually have very little time to prepare for anything. My first session was actually an industry session with Cash Money artists, and I did not record in the facility yet. I was just given permission to even go in this particular room, and they were like, "Hey, you're the only one here. He paid. You're recording it." So anxiety is to the roof, and for this is kind of probably an advantage for me, just being in the military, because it can go from 0 to 1,000 in under a second. So at that point in time, I was able to deal with the stress, but I think that's more of a self question, is how you deal with your anxiety. I'm not sure what you can do to help with that, but that's more of a self question.
Got you through it.
What got me through it is instinct kicked in, I think. I didn't know what I was doing completely. I played it off very well, and I got through the session. But basically, I hate to say this in front of everybody, but that was 80% of my military career, not knowing what I was doing, but able to get through it and finding a way and making a way.
Well, I was in the film industry for years, and it's basically, it goes back to networking and building your support group, because you're going to run into people, even though you're vying for the same positions. You could be an editor or camera operator, and you may have other friends that are editors or camera operators, but you're going to support each other. And there is that big support within, it's a family. So you're going to run into a lot of people that you're going to develop a bond with, and you're going to sit there and talk about things, you're going to support each other. And so that's the importance of networking and getting yourself out there and meeting people and talking to people, and you're going to find some like-minded friends, and that will help you find other jobs, you'll help them find jobs, and they're that built-in support group for you.
I'm gonna say this, as far as moving up and getting promoted and all that stuff, that's not something you should fear, that's something you should welcome. And me personally, like, it's a scary thing to think about, but it's a natural progression in your career, and that's something that you should focus your energy on wanting and not feeling anxiety about that. You know, the things that most people feel anxiety about are the unknown. You know, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna get there? Where am I going? And all that stuff. All that stuff, you just have to make a decision and just execute it. Like, everybody deals with their anxiety a little bit differently, and I'm not gonna talk about that in an open, televised panel, but, we could talk about it later.
Well, the best thing too is do the best that you can be, and have a good attitude, ask questions when it's relevant to something. If you don't know how to do something, ask. And there's plenty of people in this business that, will help you out. As long as you have that good attitude, willingness to learn, and each job you're going to start progressing and show them that you can do the work, and you'll get gradually moved up and up and up and up.
So it's come to a time where we have to say goodbye. Unfortunately, it's been a lot of fun. I want to thank our panel for their valuable, wise, thoughtful advice and information that they provided us. I know this can be kind of a tough panel to do possibly, but thank you very much for that. Thank you, audience, for being here.
Thank you, guys.
And this has been great. Earlier we got to learn a little bit about you all, and thank you so much for being here. So that's a wrap, and I want you all to have a great day.